Hi, Julie Torrens here. Well, what I've got today is I want to test some paper with you. Now, this is something that was recommended to me by Amazon. I have never heard of this brand. I can't even say it. But look at this. This is the Amazon Basics that I use all the time, especially when I'm here with you, but I use it. So, doesn't it look like perhaps this company might be making this for Amazon? I didn't know. So, what do I know so far since I've opened them? Well, let's look at this. 30 sheets costs around $9. 20 sheets cost me around $5. I did buy 2 of these and I do intend to use them. But I noticed this book was much heavier than this book, but I thought it was this. Now the rest all is the same, 9 by 12, 9 by 12, 140 pound, 140 pound, 300, 300. So essentially, they should be at least somewhat the same. So what did I do? Well, I cut 2 in half. I cut one of the Amazon in half and one of that other brand, the H, in half. We're going to test it out. I've got my Daniel Smith watercolor paints because they have the most variety of things that they accomplish in watercolor. So, and I'll explain more of that in a second, but let's start testing. Okay, I moved you in a little bit and I'm sitting down now. So let's get started. So I've got my Daniel Smith paints, not pre-activated, and my goal is whatever I do to one sheet, I do to the other. And we'll see about the performance. Now, just starting out, this is whiter than this. Not by a lot, but it is whiter. So already there's some difference in formulation. Now here's a big one. This is much heavier than this. It's thicker. When I took this out, I pulled 2 up by accident. And that's because I'm used to, well, no, I'm sorry, other way around. When I pulled this one out, this one was much lighter. I pulled 2 out thinking it was, being similar what I was used to. So the Amazon paper, even though all the stats are supposedly the same, it is definitely heavier, a thicker sheet. So what could that mean? Let's wet a brush. I'm using my Simply Simmons number 10, and I'm going to just put a rectangle of water on each one. It could be the sizing. It could be how much air they've squashed out. I don't know. So I am going to grab a color, ultramarine blue, known for flow, known for granulation. On the Amazon side, see it flow. Okay, about the same amount of paint. Good flow, good flow. I got a darker color here. This one's a little bit lighter, and I honestly think I used the same. Okay, if anything, this one wins the flow contest. And we'll talk about granulation in a minute, although I see it on both. All right, I am going to do another rectangle. And another rectangle. And I'm doing my best to keep it the same. I'm going into quinacridone rose. And let's see, I am just going to dot. Not much movement. Not much movement. That's okay. Rinsing that off. Clean brush. I'm going into yellow. Yellows in general tend to flow more. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pushing the rose color away. So I would say these are acting quite similar with that charging. Okay. Now I'm going to just make a straight line. It's not joined to that. Straight line. I'm going to go into the Cascade Green and I'm just going to touch the bottom. And I'm going to see this one has already flowed up to here. This one's beyond that. So this paper does have a lot of flow. Now, I don't know if you can notice, this paper's starting to buckle. This one, very little, very little. But this one's definitely buckling. Okay? Let's give it another go. I'm going to make another rectangle. Need a little more water. This Amazon paper, thirstier. Definitely thirstier. Okay? Going back to the ultramarine blue. And I'm just going to make some lines across. 3 lines across. I'm going to rinse my brush. Really want to try to start the same. And 3 lines across. Okay. This looks darker. That tells me the pigment is sitting up top more. This is, now they're kind of the same color. So maybe it's just absorbing faster. That could be it. Okay. I'm going to make a circle. And I'm going to make a circle. Now, so far we've done all wet on wet. And I'm going to get the ultramarine blue. I just went 2 dots on this side. I'm just going to do 1 dot. This side. Okay. Now to this, I'm going to add my yellow, cadmium yellow. And I'm going to just see if I can mix a green. So I can mix before it all sinks into the paper. Let's try the other one. I would say, see the Amazon, can you see that's drier? Look at this. Can you see how this is just, it's just letting the water sit on top for a long time. I can't move that paint by doing this. I can move this paint. All right, let's grab a different brush. This is another Simply Simmons, but it's just a square brush. And I'm going to do some dry brushing. I am going to wet it, but I'm going to give it a good dry on my paper towel. I'm going into the Cad Red, which is dry, and I'm just going to dry. I'd say it's about the same. Again. I would say that's about the same. Definitely about the same. This is still a huge puddle. This one, no. This still has a puddle. This one, no. This has a little bit of shine. So does that. And I would say these are about the same. Okay. Granulation. Can you see? I'm going to lift this up. It's almost like there's little particles in here and here. That's granulation. It is not gritty, but the pigments, there's some granulation here, not a lot at all. So here's my guess. The Amazon is a tighter weave. Now, Daniel Smith paints, the pigments have not been pulverized so fine. That's why you get granulation. However, almost every paint, ultramarine blue, will granulate. So that's why I picked it for that test. But this Amazon paper is showing me more granulation than this paper, definitely. Okay, as far as dry brushing, I think they're the same. Okay, I'm just gonna grab this and let's see what we can do. I'm going into the quinacridone rose, and I'm just going to paint a rose. A little more paint. Okay, very basic. I'm trying to do the same that I did on this one. A little more paint. Okay, quite similar. I'm going to go into another rose shade. This is called Rose of Ultramarine. And I'm just going to give it, let's start with this one, on some of these edges. A little more. I want to be sure I'm tapping into the right one. Because this one is allowing that puddling more. This one is not moving as much. Okay? I'm going to let those dry. I'm going to try a couple of leaves. And I'm going to go wet, but keep this dry. So I'm going into the Cascade Green. I'm going to start thin, thick, thin, and thin, thick, thin. Okay. A little more water. This is much wetter. I want it to be the same. Okay. Thin, thick, thin, thin, thick, thin. All right. Quite similar, quite similar. Lighter, darker, not sure why, because so far that it has to be a Julie thing. It just has to be. All right, I'm going to do another leaf. Thin, thick, thin, thin, thick, thin. Thin, thick, thin, thin, thick, thin. There, a couple leaves. All right. Lot of puddling still. Little bit here, it's kind of moved down. I'm also seeing a lot more granulation here than here. All right. My rose isn't dry enough for me to work on it some more. So I'm going to just try one of those flowers like we've made 1,000 times. I'm just going to use this blue. I believe this is the phthalo blue. But I'm going to use the same on both. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Rinse. Dry. More dry. Too dry. Okay. All right. Same ultramarine or phthalo. Those are not as big. Okay. Rinse. Drying my brush off. Now, those of you that follow my channel, you've seen me make these 1,000 times. And I just feel like I've done them enough that I'm going to do them the same on each test. If you're hearing a noise, my air conditioning just went on. I've got water coming down the brush. Okay, good. I'm not disappointed. I'm going to go into this brown. It's some kind of a gem name, Genuine. They use a lot of gems, minerals in the Daniel Smith paints. That's why, another reason why you just get so much granulation. Okay, I feel like those leaves have dried sufficiently that I'm just gonna now go over the white space that I left just to give it a hint of the color. All right, I'm gonna work on the roses. I'm gonna go in with a, I would say medium, not particularly wet, not particularly dry. I'm gonna start on the outside and I'm just going around. It's too dry, a little more. There we go. Okay, same over here. All right, I'm gonna rinse. See if I can move this color just a little more. Okay, I'm gonna, not even changing my brush. I'm going back into that rose of ultramarine, and I'm just gonna put some dots in the most white areas, just to give it a little bit of depth. These aren't the best roses I ever made, but it's doing what I want it to do. It's the purpose of just checking out these papers. All right, I'm gonna work on these two a little bit, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. Going into Cad Red dots. Okay, now I'm taking this brush, drying it as much as I can. I'm gonna lift this. All this liquid that has just stayed on the top. Now, could some of this be operator error? Absolutely. But look, I cannot lift hardly from this side. And this one I can. All right. So I'm going to give you my feelings. I feel like the colors are brighter here than here. I feel like the flow is good on both. But look at this and look at this. Can you see how that Cad Red, it flowed a little bit here, not like here. More flow, but still good flow. Absolutely. See, I just see more bright color. This looks faded. Definitely more granulation. Not as much here. These flow tests, quite the same, quite the same. Okay, let's set these aside. They're just tests. I've got two more. I want to try some lifting, and I'll show you that. I'm still using the big old Simply Simmons brush. I'm going to go into the phthalo. Well, phthalo is very staining. That's not really a fair test. I'm going to go back into the ultramarine, and I'm just going to do dry paper, wet brush, make a circle. This is the Amazon paper. Just a tiny bit of water, ultramarine, fill it in. All right, I'm gonna grab a red. I'm gonna grab that cad red hue. Hue just means that they didn't use real cadmium, and that's because cadmium is poison. If you have paints that have cadmium, don't worry about it. Unless you put it into like an air brush type thing where it's up in the air and you're breathing it in, it's really not a danger. But, you know. All right, yellow. Get a little more. I honestly am trying to make this as fair as I can. Okay. Now, I'm going to take the square brush. I'm wetting it, dab, dab, and now I want a piece of paper towel. Did I bring that? Hang on. I've got one. Okay. I'm going to go catty corner across here. I don't remember which one I did first. And I'm thinking I did this one first. Okay. I'm just going across twice and blot. I'm wetting it, making it dry as best I can, like from the other one. And I would say as far as lifting so far, about the same. All right. Brush, dry, and going across the red. And rinse, brush, dry. And I'm going across the driest part. Okay, and the yellow. That's going to be hard for you to see, but I just wanted to get, and the yellow's the wettest of them all. But I'm trying to go across it only needs one, the driest. But it's not, that's the wettest, so it's okay. Just once across. All right, well, I would say for lifting, in other words, how much is the paper staining? I would say they're comparable. They both did good with the ultramarine. If anything, this one did better. I would say equal to this, equal to this. So that's good. All right, one more test. I'm going to make a wet rectangle. Wet rectangle. Going into the Cascade Green. Rinse. Going into the Cascade Green. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and I'm going to do some lifting with a twist. This is the way I like to lift if I'm making clouds. Okay, I'm going to a fresh. This is smoother than this as I'm doing it. Okay, now I'm going to take another color. I'm going to take some of this phthalo blue. I've got it down here. I'm going over it again. Going over it again. All right. Another piece of paper towel, clean spot. Give it a twirl right in the middle. Find another spot. Give it a twirl right in the middle. All right. Don't know if you can see. This paper has pilled up, and that's what I wanted to see. Can you see that it is, look, crumbs are coming off of it. This one, no crumbs. Well, the Amazon paper wins for a lot of reasons. Am I going to use this? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not going to throw it away. And there's a lot of things I can do with this, including acrylics. When it comes to something that means a lot to me and I want the best performance I can get with what I have on hand, for watercolor, I'm sticking to the Amazon. Am I going to buy this anymore? I doubt it. Even though it's at an excellent price, I'm going to stick with my Amazon. It's worth it to me. 10 extra sheets compared to this. Higher performance. All right. I hope that helped. In the meantime, if you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, and I will look for you in a video that's going to pop up right here. See you there.